on a walk and listening to other people's stuff and realized, you know what, I haven't been walking a lot lately and I've definitely missed it. And I've realized just like there's times when I feel like, oh my God, I need to speak. I need to say something, but I don't know what it is. And I couldn't like get rid of this feeling. And it dawned on me that, I have a couple channels. If you're looking at a human design chart, a couple channels that are connected to my throat, and one of them coming from my solar plexus, the other one from my ajna. So, intuition and emotions, a huge part of what I do in my own work, but also the things that are really going to guide me and tell me, lead me to the things that I need to know. So by not, walking the last several months and being outside, just really connecting with that energy, it's almost like the motor, right? That motor, our emotions driving us to do something. So for me, and also an emotional authority, if I'm feeling that, there's probably something that needs to come to the surface to actually be expressed. And then ignoring that feeling, I'm just kind of pushing that down. And ironically too, with the 1222 channel connecting from the solar plexus, the emotional center to my throat, one of the key aspects of that is the emotional resonance, and when I speak and how that's going to land with people, but also it's, only speaking when, the kind of, I get the nudge when the feeling is there. And the thing is the feeling has been there, but it's just kind of like been stagnant, where it's like I don't necessarily know what that is, and I've felt the drive to maybe get out and walk, but admittedly in the winter I don't like to do that. I don't like to go outside necessarily. So a lot of these things have just been kind of bubbling under the surface, waiting for spring, which it is the first day technically of spring. And it actually finally feels like it. And it's that first day, and out walking and just kind of feeling those nudges again to really just start speaking, start moving, start taking action, coming out of that winter season, stepping into this new season, this new astrological year, this new paradigm, for lack of a better term. I talk a lot about that. But anyway, so, right now, this is something I actually was just recording for myself. I might share it out later. Maybe not. We'll see. But I know that lately, I personally have been kind of on the edge, and on the edge of kind of something new, and where things definitely need to change. On the edge, between that old and new paradigm, and what that looks like for me, and really understanding that, really owning that, really speaking that more and more, and expressing myself in my relationships, in my business, with my clients, in my marketing, in my sales, in all of it. And I have definitely been feeling that lately. Last month, got a little bit of a nudge to go live, and start going live every day for 33 days. And I did that. I did forget one day, but almost every single day it felt highly uncomfortable. And going back to that 1222 channel, honestly, it wasn't always the right time. But what I actually did learn out of this experience is not necessarily, oh, I need to wait till it's the right time to speak, but rather that I need to actually allow myself to speak, to express myself. And the more I do that, the more I actually speak, the more I let things come out, the more I actually start to recognize when that is. So, I finished the 33 days, and I am continuing to record stuff, but not necessarily putting the pressure on to do it every day. But what it made me realize is just how uncomfortable I had become with my own voice and my own, trust in myself, in my words and the things that I'm saying and doing, and really worrying again about what people think. And I don't know that I ever fully wasn't doing that, but I really feel like through that exercise, I found my voice again. And, it's been something where it made me really recognize where I had been hiding, and not just in business, even in my relationship, to be honest. And my husband and I were pretty open and honest overall with each other. We've been together over 25 years at this point, married for 18 years at this point, but I just could tell that there was certain things that I wasn't expressing to him, because I didn't think he would get it, or I thought he would judge things. And the learning there has been that by not expressing those things, they're never going to change. And that's really part of, the old versus new paradigm for me is, regardless of how small some of these things may seem, if you don't actually express yourself fully, if you aren't actually being yourself, if you aren't letting yourself come to the forefront because you think that other people have these expectations of you, of who you should be, of how you should live your life, of, worrying that someone will reject you, that someone won't get it, that they'll think you're too much, or whatever. By letting that control you, you're never going to actually see what's on the other side of that. And, in business, for me, that has also come up, before in, content. It's come up in sending messages to people and like worrying what people think. And, well, what will they think? They'll think I'm too salesy or whatever. And the thing is I used to do this all the time in my business before I somehow, was conditioned to believe, oh, that's bad. People aren't going to like it. People don't like it when you send DMs. They think you're too salesy, too pushy. So then I pulled back from that for a long time and thought, well, I shouldn't be doing that. And, one of the things that I've started doing again is actually putting myself out there to really have those conversations in the DMs, because to be honest, DMs are awesome. And I've met some really great people. And I was reminded recently of one of my early clients. And I actually went back and watched her testimonial recently, because it sparked in me just like how powerful those things can be when we allow ourselves and our voice to actually be heard, when we actually allow ourselves to be expressed in different areas of our life and our work. And, I also recognize, looking back in many of these things too, how this has impacted my own health. And where, when I was living out of alignment with the version of myself that I knew I wanted to be, how that showed up in different ways in my world and in my health. And, last year, I had decided to stop taking all my supplements. I was only on a couple prescription things, actually only one that was like a regular prescription, but I decided I'm going to stop taking these things because, I went to Bali and I had this like half a suitcase full of supplement bottles that I had to bring with me. And I was just like, what the fuck? And that wasn't the first time I had felt that. I'm like, this isn't the way I want to live. And I decided this is going to change. And I actually had met someone then on that trip who had helped me, and I stopped taking all of my supplements that I was taking, and I was honestly on quite a few for helping me with my digestion for this and that and that. But it wasn't the way I wanted to live, but I had been living in this fear of, well, what if, what happens, what if, and this isn't even necessarily about what people think, but it's that fear of what happens if I stop taking these things? What happens if I say the things that I really think? What happens if? And, with the supplements, honestly, I stopped taking them and I started feeling better. One of the things I was on, something for acid reflux, I realized for over 20 years, different medications or supplements, but I was on something for over 20 years and I stopped taking it. And I had some acid reflux stuff for a day. And then it started to clear up. And that's not saying I'm never going to get heartburn again or whatever. but I know how to deal with it. I can actually do it now mostly through like just breathing if that comes up. But I was so afraid that if I didn't take these things, of what could happen to me. I was so afraid, you know, and I've had the experience too, like where I've been so afraid that my business wasn't going to work, that my clients were going to decide that I wasn't good enough or that they didn't want me, and I would lose the money that was coming in and everything would fail, and that led to its own issues and you know, gut issues as well, and you know, stress and nervous system stuff. And that's why, you know, such a big part of the work that I do with women isn't just like helping you achieve your goals, but it's actually helping you to change your life in a way that's sustainable and supportive of who you want to be and what it is that you want to create. And that's why I do everything from relationships to business to, you know, I'm not necessarily a health coach, but I can definitely help people correct these things in all areas of their life, because it's all related. Every aspect of the things that you want in your life, everything that isn't working for you, everything that's going wrong, like it's there to show you something, and they're all related. And when you can actually get to the root cause, the, you know, not just the symptoms, not just the acid reflux, not just, you know, the disagreement with your partner, not just, you know, I can't think of, not just the DM stuff, you know, when you actually look at all areas of your life and work alongside each other, you become more able to actually see the patterns. And that's exactly what I do with people, is I'm able to have a conversation with someone and very quickly see, usually within one conversation, some people might take a little bit more, but oftentimes in one conversation, exactly what needs to shift in order for you to create the kind of shifts and changes in your life. Not just like minuscule, but paradigm level shifts that actually last, that are actually sustainable, so that you can create the life that you want, to live that without sacrificing parts of yourself. Because what I see too is like women walking away from successful careers, businesses, money, etc., to go all in on their relationship, or because they're so burnt out or whatever. And you don't have to sacrifice, you don't have to give up one aspect of your life in order to create the other. You don't need to work yourself to burnout in order to make things, to make you realize what's actually wrong, so that you have to burn everything to the fucking ground because you're so exhausted and overwhelmed by what you've built. You don't need to worry about what other people think and spend your whole life worrying about other people and thinking about other people and taking care of other people just so that you can be happy and be seen in a certain way. But these are the things that many of us are conditioned for, and you know, these are a lot of the things that are tied to those underlying patterns that when you don't get to the root, they keep repeating, they keep looping in different areas of your life over and over and over. And that's why the work that I do with people is looking at things from that, you know, 360-degree view of what's actually what is it that you want, what's actually happening for you, and what needs to change in order for you to create the life you want and to sustain it. Long term, full stop. That's what I do. And that's what we do in my programs. Everything from, you know, the free programs like the Edge, which is a free 8-day immersion, all the way up to, you know, my signature paradigm shift experience, which is a 12-month group program, and my one-on-one work and my retreats, all of it. That's what we do. So if this is resonating for you, I definitely would recommend that you reach out to me, that you join my communities, and you know, reach out, send a message, have a conversation, look for one of these opportunities. The Edge, as I'm recording this right now, I have another round coming up starting March 25th, and I'm going to be running another one in April of 2026 as well, kind of right off the tail end of that, as well as, you know, my programs like the Leap, the expansion experience, and then, you know, everything in between that I do. So send me a message, let's have a conversation. Otherwise, just jump in, you know, to my DMs or into my communities, and we'll take it from there. But I hope this has served you. And P.S., this actually started as a riff for myself, just a little reminder as I was on my walk, and it obviously turned into something different. So I hope you've enjoyed, and I will talk to you soon.